Hello and welcome to this lecture. This is about leading of emotion, introduction to this huge topic. Today we're going to talk about two things. First of all, why? Why should we care about emotions in work life? And second of all, how can we start to create more emotionally intelligent days within ourselves and with each other, in our encounters with our colleagues, with our customers? The goal is that we would create this kind of wisdom in your encounters by understanding emotions better, understanding what those different emotions are, and therefore giving us this kind of new wisdom in how to behave in encounters and also how to understand ourselves better. This will create this kind of clarity in your life that maybe you haven't had before. Because as we all know, there are huge changes all around us. As you can see in this illustration that I have made, it's like the sea that we cannot really control. There will be surprises, there will be things that are not in our control. But what happens inside the ship is, for example, your company or your team. And what happens inside is really in your control. You can decide how you treat each other, how you support each other, how you encourage. And this will create this kind of emotional environment that will really have a huge effect on your future. The way you handle your emotions is really crucial for your own life. Leading of emotion is really about having this capability to have this kind of space between stimulus and response. And what does that mean? It means that when something happens outside of you, you can have this kind of small space where you can think that, okay, what does this mean? And only after that you decide how to behave. And this is really crucial thing for your future too, because how we interpret these situations, for example, this is threat, this is something that I'm afraid of, this is terrible, that will have a reaction in your brain, and there will be things going on like, oh my God, there's a lion, we should be fighting or flighting or freezing, and that will give you cortisol, adrenaline in your bloodstream. And that will have an effect, for example, in your cognitive skills, in your problem-solving skills. So this is really important stuff. This is not only this kind of pink fluffy stuff. This has a direct influence on our behavior in business life. And that is what I'm talking about here. I'm not talking about that we should forget all this linear logical stuff. That is really important. Of course, we have to have the processes, we have to have the technologies, we have to have the strategy right, so that we all have our jobs tomorrow and the goals and everything that we need in the business life. But at the same time, these things are, in a way, on the surface. They are something that your competitor can come and copy. They can have the same products, they can have the same pricing, they can offer better salary to your best colleague and steal him. But what happens in emotions? They are, in a way, below the surface. They are abstract. And your competitor cannot come and copy the way you talk to each other, how you treat each other, how you rise up after problems, after setbacks. Those are something that we cannot put into linear Excel. And that's why it's really beneficial thing for you. Also, we need to look at these things from different perspectives. We can no longer think that, okay, it's only our business and Excels and KPIs. No, that's not enough in today's world. We have to take into account also our people, for example. How are they doing? What's the burnout? What's the enthusiasm? How are they performing? But we cannot only think about the individuals either. We cannot be like me, and my benefits and me everything. Of course, we have to think about the company too, because we need a healthy company so that we have a future in our hands. And of course, we need to think about the customers, because nobody has a job if we don't give customers what they need, if we cannot offer something that is relevant for them. And lastly, but not least, the environment, the macro level of things. How do we affect the environment, our society? It's not only about the climate, it's also about how we treat, for example, the newcomers. What kind of impact do we have on our society? All these different perspectives, I hope you keep in mind when we go now further into this topic. Why should we care about emotions? We have been doing quite well so far, and emotions don't belong to the workplace. And I know this has been the attitude